Sit back, relax, put your belt on, enjoy the show.
This next game is the battle for the bottom two, isn't it? On form, at least. On form.
Kind of feels like it, absolutely. The Crusaders and the Blues. I mean, can you contrast how we were talking up the Crusaders and the Blues first fixture just a few weeks ago? You know, we were like, this is the game that we've been waiting for. The heavens have opened. This is last year's rematch that was COVIDed out. And it was a really good game last time. The first game, Blues and Crusaders, both the Blues and the Crusaders on top of their game. I think even going into that, we said there's the Crusaders, and at that point we were saying put any test team in the world up against them and it'll still be good night. We said a little bit of daylight in the Blues, and then there's a huge amount of daylight in everyone else in Super Rugby, Aotearoa. It's how the tables have turned. Both these teams in certainly low form.
Look, the last time these two teams, like when you're talking about that matchup, it was won by the Crusaders 43-27, which is a relatively convincing win.
No, but that blew out at the very end. I think the scoreline was not very representative of the game. The Blues. This is one of these games where the Blues, they were in it until very, very late in the game.
Yeah, look, I think that's a fair point, but I mean, it is still, 16 points. Yeah. That did blow out a little bit, but look, this puts two teams that are desperate for a win, and it sounds funny to talk about these two teams at the moment and say that they're desperate for a win, but they are both desperate. The Blues, the Blues need to get a win here to have a crack at the Chiefs next week to be in for the finals. Whereas the Crusaders, if they win this in their last matchup of the year, they confirm that they're going to have a home final. If they lose this, they've got a chance to be playing either the Blues in Auckland or the Chiefs away as well. So, this is important for both of the teams. There's a lot of pressure on them here.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing stopping the Chiefs from beating the Hurricanes this week and the Blues next week and finishing top.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That's just insane, isn't it?
Look, Harry, do you want to jump into some of the injuries and returnings?
Yeah, Josh Goodhue has an injury, with his head knock. Tom Robinson, same thing as well for him. Big sauce.
He had a big lot of claret coming down 5 minutes into the game.
Yeah, that's right. But Akira surely coming back, so we'll get onto that in a little bit, I guess. Returning, you got Sammy Whitelock coming back from a rest week. And you got Cullen Grace also getting his run on back after a bit of a breather as well. Kurt Eklund finally should be back. He was meant to be back last week after his bye.
It was a 3-week ban.
Yeah. It's been 3 games.
Oh, true. So there's been 4.
Yeah, so they gave him an extra week just to rest up. He was obviously tired.
Yeah, after that big suplex tackle.
After the Sevu suplex.
My expectation is Kurt Eklund signs for the Hurricanes as the 4th hooker there because he's just not getting game time for the Blues.
Very good. And look, Nels, I'm surprised you let this sail past. I chucked in the notes just because I thought it was very impressive. Sam Whitelock coming back, mate. He's on a 41-point average in 2021. He has been killing it.
Mate, he's a weapon. I think I had him right up there in the locks for me, and he's just added, more to his game this year than I think he has in the last few years, to be honest. So it's been a really solid year for him.
He's still the quiet achiever. Like, you don't notice him accumulating all these fantasy points.
I
but
think
he's finally getting.
I've noticed him.
I think the difference is this year you have noticed him. He's throwing an offload. He's doing a couple extra little things. He's getting a turnover.
He can make a line break assist this year. Like, oh man, he all of a sudden is a ball player. It's out of nowhere.
Yeah, makes
like he wants to stay in the All Blacks or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
Very good.
Yeah, look, Harry, you were touching on the injuries for the Blues, and I think let's jump straight across to the Blues in this one. I mean, they have a serious lock issue at the moment. So you've got no captain Patrick Tuipulotu, who remains sidelined with his neck and shoulder issues. So he's not going to be considered. Josh Goodhue, he's out, or most likely out. I think he's confirmed out with his head knock. Same with Tom Robinson. It means we've got Gerard Cali-Tuioti, and we've got the young Sam Darry, who we've been quite impressed with, going in tandem again in this starting side. But who covers the bench spot? Is it Jacob Pearce? Because I don't know if we've seen him this year. Their lock. I don't know who else they have. So for me, I think it has to be Jacob Pearce. But I mean, they're really running loose, running out of locks here. But look, they've dropped 3 of their last 4 matches, and this truly is a do or die match for them. So you'd really want some experience there, which they've lost from all these injuries. I suppose Cowley Tuioti is a relatively experienced player. He's been there for quite some time. But for the most part, as that third lock, I'd say for many years. But I mean, also Big Sauce, his absence, the last few weeks has been awesome. Cargie, does this mean we see your man return? Akira back to that 6 jersey?
Mate, Akira played 75 odd minutes last week after the Big Sauce copped that head knock. Yes, it does. Immediately we see the incumbent All Blacks number 6 back starting in what is always crazy and elusive to me in that why he is never not the first pick in that team. Yeah, I mean, that's a no-brainer for me. The back row will clearly be Satutu, Akira, and Dalton. I can't think of anything else it would possibly be. But yeah, I don't, as to locks, I don't know what they do though.
I mean,
have a look through.
That's you've got your starters locked down. It's the same as last week. It's just that they're missing that third option there. But look, another discussion to have there. I mean, it's been talked about a lot if we're paying attention to a few of the journalists around. But potentially, we're going to either see the third captain for the year or co-captains. So we might get to see Rico and Papali'i as co-captains for this year, which would be for this week, which would be good for both of them. I suppose you're having one in the backs camp, one in the forwards camp, and they can share that load, which is something you see a fair bit of when you've got those co-captains as well.
Actually, I've decided what I'd do. I'd slot Hoskins Tutu into lock. I would, and then I just bring on Zahn Sullivan and put him on the field somewhere. I just want to get Zahn Sullivan on the field. There's so much to ask.
Look, the big thing I think the Blues are going to need to do is they're giving away a lot of penalties. Last week, they had a red card, they had a yellow card, and all in all, they had 12 penalties.
If there was an orange card, they would have had that as well.
Is Aotearoa Black going to get his kicking game together?
Mate,
It wasn't that atrocious 2 weeks ago.
It was. Look, I mean, it's... So what we're saying is you don't see they're not going to win this one.
In all honesty, I think that this is the perfect game for the Crusaders to get their mojo back before the finals to then win the whole comp.
Yeah. Look, for the Crusaders, they're waiting on a second scan for Joe Moody on his injured toe.
The second biggest grub.
Second biggest grub, but he's not Captain Grub.
Grub too.
He is the biggest grub for the record.
Yeah,
biggest grub?
He's not
Bigger than Dane Coles? It's a tough competition.
Without a doubt.
I don't know. He doesn't talk.
The grub charts, it is a tough competition up there with Dane Coles and Joe Moody for sure.
But look, he's most likely set to miss a couple of weeks. Lester Fainga'anuku, they think there's a good chance we're going to see him playing this weekend after his head knock. Assistant coach Andrew Goodman says they're hopeful that he'll be able to play this weekend. If he isn't cleared fit, who does that mean we see, boys? There's a few names we can throw out there. Mataeli, we saw him on the bench last week. Coming through school, we've seen him play a lot of 13, but he can also play on the wing. Sevu Reece had played a lot of 13, but we've also seen him play on the wing. These two, we could move them around and slot one in that 13 jersey.
It's very simple, mate. It's extremely simple. We will see Dallas and McLeod play 12 and David Havili play 13 because David Havili can play any position.
I've just thrown out 2 very exciting names to play that jersey, but you've also got Isaiah Punavai, the rookie, and you've also got the old faithful Rennie Ranger boys.
I can confirm. Look, I have been constantly and always on Rennie Ranger watch, and I can confirm that will not happen because he did ask for a release a few weeks ago when he realized he wasn't going to play. And he's actually, I forget where he's gone, but
he's probably whitebait fishing somewhere. He'll get the call up and he'll turn up.
I think he went over to Japan for a bit, and then he's coming back to play for Northland again. I don't know, but I've been on Rennie Ranger watch. Don't you worry. He was going to be in my fantasy team if he was going to get on the field. But
we're going around here a lot, boys. How do we see this one going? I mean, this is normally the game we talk so much about, but this week's getting a bit long in tooth.
When in doubt, I'm going to fall back to old habits. Crusaders by how much? And I'm going to say Crusaders are going to surprise us and they're going to win by 21 points in this one.
Oh, wowza. I was going to say surprise us. And I mean, you always go Crusaders. That's generally your tip. And also the home team 1 to 12. I'm going to go Crusaders are going to surprise us, but stick to those rules and say 12.
Oh, stop
Yeah, boy.
All right.
Bear in mind, we have said the Crusaders every week the last 3 weeks, and we've been wrong.
They've won one of them.
I don't rate the Blues this year. Hey, I reckon they were riding high off their confidence from last year. When
Agreed.
they're actually good. And as they've realised they suck, they've gotten worse and worse.
It's the Bowden Barrett effect, mate.
And to be honest with you, I don't rate the Crusaders nearly as high as we've discussed before. Although they're still fucking excellent.
Mate, just Richie Mo'unga just needs to be like, oh, I'm going to play today.
Man, you don't even know his name, so let's not talk him up.
Mo'unga.
That's
Right.
also bad.
Yeah,
We're getting close
Richie
to that. We're
Mo'unga
getting
and the
close.
Crusaders are going to win by 10 points.
I just to put this out there, I saw an article, I think it was today, saying the Crusaders, this is from their staff, haven't gotten worse. The rest of the Super Rugby Aotearoa has caught up. I say bullshit.
Yeah,
and if we look at some of the stats, they've actually said in the first 4 rounds, they had a plus 898 meter differential from the teams they were versing. More than, nearly double any other team. However, since that, in the last 3 games, where is it? They've got a minus 64 meter differential. They're tackling more than any other team, which you don't normally see because they're having to do the work. They're not having most of the possession and dominating whenever they have the possession.
And the biggest other thing is that they had consistently scored a hell of a lot of points off scrums, which they no longer are.
And they used to have larger kick meters. All these stats are significantly down for them.
Why do you think they're not scoring as many plays off scrums? Surely the loss of Kieran Reid and Fetu Douglas at the back of the scrum is massive over the last couple of years.
Definitely.
Instead, they're trying to shift Cullen Grace to turn him into that number 8 or Ethan Blackadder, and neither of them yet are that assured presence at the back of that scrum.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Their front row is just as dominant. I just don't think that they're actually getting the dominant attack off that set piece.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I'll be honest, I kind of tuned out when Nelson started talking through the stats there. But when you said like 800 and something points, is it bad that I thought, sorry, you said 800 and something meters. I thought you were talking points, the points differential. I just assumed I was like Crusaders, 800 points. Yeah,
plus 898 meters, points, like meter differential. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I've got you.
And the difference was that a few teams did suck in Super Rugby Aotearoa last year, but that's not been the case.
No,
every
even
year.
in the first 4 rounds.
I think, look, all that is really surprising, all the headline should say is really the world is shocked that the Crusaders could ever have a bad game. Like that the Crusaders lost, basically, because it's just going to take one game, like this weekend, for them to smash the Blues and everyone go, nope, I take that back. Mate, play against the Springboks tomorrow and they'll probably win. Okay. So,
Cargie, I'm full as a goog, mate. I don't think we need dessert today. Pilk, you're going to have to wait till next week.
I think that sounds like a good idea. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us again for the Draft Rugby show, and we will catch you in the next one.
Hooroo.
See ya.